Thank you so much for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We are here today with another episode of The Digital Leap, and we are your lovely host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
yeah, we are here today, y'all, with a really, really great and hopefully powerful episode to really talk about some important things, y'all. So as you know, this show is called The Digital Leap, and we're just here to break down how everything in this digital age, from technology, big and small, has changed our daily interactions, our familial interactions, our business interactions, and everything in between. So we actually have a special guest, a very special guest with us today, but more on that later. They'll be able to break things down, answer some burning questions that we have. But again, we'll get to that real soon. But we wanted to really introduce this as a topic to you all because we kind of take for granted how the little thing in our hand called a cell phone has maybe in some ways simplified life and made things real smooth and convenient. But then in other ways, it may have complicated some things. What do you say about that, Mom?
Oh, I say, we have to maintain an equilibrium in everything that we say and do. Because in some way or another, it's going to affect us. And we want to be effective in all that we say and do in a more positive way. So using technology, we have to be wise and very intuitive that we, don't overdo things and cause more harm.
Well, I think too is like we're always thinking of things from our perspective of like giving and showing love, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's something we can say that is a priority for us. Now, that may not be the priority for everyone, but I would hope that it could be something we can all as a human race aspire to, right? Mm-hmm. Is to spread love, to spread love in a way that you're not just doing things maliciously, but obviously there's exceptions to every rule. People are selfish and do what they want to do. Yeah. But in that, technology has played quite a role in how those kinds of things pan out. Mm-hmm. So everything from subtweeting online, where you're talking about somebody without mentioning any names, but you want to get your point across, everything from that to just straight out gossip blogs busting people out, and you have all sorts of things that stem from those kind of things being popularized and being almost normal nowadays. There was a time where that didn't really exist. No. So I think it's safe to say our interactions with one another as human beings, as men and women, as co-workers, as friends, as family, things have changed because of I would call it an outlet that technology gives us, that social media gives us. We're in a digital leap where everybody has their own type of platform so they can speak their piece, so to speak, and kind of like say what they want to say, how they want to say it, when they want to say it.
In the way they want to say it. Yeah. But I just think sometimes because we are in this digital era now, a lot of things are being aired that should have been addressed and
resolved in another way,
and so early on in life, and that now it's sort of like spilling over. Sure. And we're just getting a lot of mixture of things, and nothing is really being sought out in a manner that it could be beneficial to everyone involved.
Yeah, there's a lack of maturity that's allowed nowadays because you can just kind of do as you please. You post what you want, when you want, how you want. And, it's the saying that gets thrown out all the time is only God can judge me type of attitude. Yeah. And, we get it enough already. Yeah. That doesn't absolve you from responsibility. Absolutely. That doesn't absolve you from being mature about how you're handling situations. Judgment does not mean you're right.
Then, just throwing that out, only God can judge me. But I think if we start judging ourselves in a more realistic way, and
having a standard in how we're behaving
and having empathy,
of course, and showing love to ourselves and one another is very, very important. And this isn't to like come down on anybody and make you feel bad.
But we want to make you better.
We want to make you better because here's the thing: life is going to go on, time is going to go on, and if you're not getting better, you're already behind.
That's it.
That's the thing about it. So many people have lost opportunities because they weren't ready for it when it came knocking, and they get left behind because they weren't mature enough maybe to handle the opportunities that were coming for them.
And then you lose out on who wants to lose.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to think about. Do I really want to be a loser?
Oh Lord, I hope not.
And so sometimes our response or our thinking can put us in that bracket without us even really paying attention to it.
And you know what that makes me think of? That saying we hear all the time: if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So if you stay working on yourself, if you keep working on your maturity and on your intentionality of growth and loving yourself and being a whole person, being a healed person, you won't have to get ready when opportunity comes knocking. You'll be ready. And you won't self-sabotage, which is a whole nother thing.
And that goes back to what I said before, because there are issues from, that's been covered up, buried, and not dealt with.
The past can haunt.
Yes, and if we don't, when it comes, and sadly, sometimes when it comes up, instead of really dealing with it from a realistic point of view, we kind of, you can't judge me, or, that's just the way I feel, or that's just what no, if we are compassionate one towards the other, and we are being, having a really sincere, coming from a sincere place, I think sometimes that would come forth and we can move forward in a more realistic and loving and more productive way of life.
I agree with that. Being a productive member of society really just means that you are a person that's trying to grow and be better. I don't think it has to be much more complicated than that.
Not at all.
You shouldn't be making the same mistakes as a 30-plus-year-old as you were as a teenager. I would really, really hope that you've matured and learned some things and grown in some areas to prevent having to spend your 30s and up still doing and making the same mistakes and even in the same crowd, because Lord knows there are times where we have to uproot ourselves even from a certain environment in order to free ourselves into a better lifestyle,
so that we can grow effectively
and of course it's easier said than done. This isn't to make light of struggle. This isn't to make light of difficulty, but it is the reality that we do have to change.
And then if we want to make that digital leap,
exactly,
we have to take time out to really see what it is that we need to do so that we can bring forth that change that will make a difference, and that we will continue to grow and we will be effective in others' lives as well, because we are helpers one to another.
At least we should be.
At least we should be, and we can be with the right mentality if we take the digital leap.
And not everybody is going to be a politician, and not everybody is going to be some influencer with this huge platform to speak their truth in all of these different ways. It could be as simple as maybe the local school teacher is able to impact the kids that they're teaching year after year, and they are impacting the parents of those children year after year, because those things matter.
Yeah, and then one person at a time. You might be sitting on a bus and talking to someone.
That too.
Just as simple, the simplicity.
Yeah.
The simplicity of it all is what I believe that will change things, because everybody, as you said, is not going to have a great big platform.
Of course.
Everybody's not going to have a crowd.
Of
following.
course.
But the simplicity of life, there's some saying that goes along with that. I can't recall at this time. But we know the simplicity of life is the thing that makes the difference,
Yeah, of
so
course.
we want to always be able to touch and make a difference in people's lives.
Right, of course. And I think it's just so important for us to have these type of conversations, because when we can just be open and honest about these kind of things that are going on in our lives, and just in a way that makes you feel safe and makes you feel like you're able to do more, I think it's empowering. And that's why we have to have these conversations, y'all. So it might be a little uncomfortable, it might be a little awkward, but it's worth it, because we're here to really just kind of break the mold, right? The mold being the previous generation, being our launch pad, if you will, in order to move forward into the future and really, really learn from the mistakes of our forefathers and grow as people. So it's all about change. It's all about being better, right? It's all about just growth.
Yes. And you know what? I believe that when we have the capacity to grow and we have the capacity to share and all of those wonderful things that make a difference, you know, I think that we should do it even if it's on a one-to-one basis or when it whatever platform.
Yeah, like the saying is like each one teach one.
Absolutely.
You don't always have to have the biggest platform in order to make the most impact. No. And ultimately the impact is going to start with your own self-worth and self-discipline, and then that way you become a whole healthy person that can impact others along the way. Absolutely. And it becomes that each one teach one. So it's really powerful stuff, y'all, and guess what, it starts with you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we're here to bring the information and the inspiration to you because this is what it's all about, and you have to find that community that's going to uplift you, that's going to encourage you, that's going to support you, because it's all about us growing, right? Yes. It's all about us moving forward.
And as that scripture says, iron sharpens iron. When we get strengthened, we can
strengthen others.
Yes.
And that's just so important. So it's definitely one of these things, like I said, it may be uncomfortable sometimes. It might be hard to hear at other times, but it's an important conversation that we have to have, because when you're exposed to things, it gets you thinking, it gets you hopeful, it gets you really, really evaluating some things. And the old saints used to call it self-inventory. Oh, yeah, I got a throwback for you right there. Taking some self-inventory in order to really, really evaluate your life and what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want, the things that you like, the things that you don't like, because these are the things that are really, truly going to make us better. Mm-hmm. So before we bring our special guest, any thoughts you want to share in regards to just the digital leap that we have to take, where we're able to learn some things using social media, but not allow it to take away too much?
You know, I think that I would just say use social media to do what it is that's going to throw out a positive flow of things, but don't let it, you control it and not let it control you. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And that's an important thing to remember. We are in a digital age, and there's nothing wrong with the technology itself. It's all in how we use it. Absolutely. It's not necessarily that it's all bad. I'm not telling you guys to go, be tree huggers if that's not what you want to do. But we do have to keep in mind, and we'll get further into this discussion in today's episode, that it is definitely some things that we have to be aware of so we can make wiser decisions, so that we can maybe turn down the overstimulation that we might be getting from said technology. Amen. So that we can be whole and healed people ourselves, because I think that's important.
That's very important.
Sometimes turning off the radio, turning off the TV is what we have to do.
Turn the phone
now,
off.
Don't turn this episode off too soon, because there's more to come. But I'm just making a point, because it's very important to recognize.
Be inspired.
Yeah, we definitely are going to be inspired, but it's just important to know that some things you have to take time for yourself and take a step back, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to be wise, the when, the how, and the where, right?
Amen.
Yeah, so we're excited about today's episode, and when we get back from this next break, we are going to introduce our illustrious guest, so we can't wait to break it down even more, because I'm telling you, this is going to be real juicy here.
Yes.
I think
you're going to want to tune in.
I think there's going to be some feedback from this for more. I don't know. I just have that feeling. Have that feeling. But yeah, so we will take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to WDRB, the voice of the community. And those streaming live free on the TuneIn Radio app or on the Apple Music app, we appreciate you. And you are tuning in today to The Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth, and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yeah, Jack. So anyway, we are back with just an important guest that we have to introduce as we are continuing this important conversation. So let me just recap real quick for y'all, okay? Because again, we're having a hard conversation today about growth and maturity and how that relates to just social media to technology and how all of these things have maybe changed our views and changed our expectations on some things. But it's about growing. It's about being better people. So we have a very special guest with us today with some expertise on the matter. When it comes down to dealing with people, when it comes down to understanding people, and we want to just dive into that conversation a little bit more. So without further ado, I want to introduce you all to none other than Dr. Verl Williams, who's affectionately known as Dr. V. Dr. V has worked in the field of social work for over 15 years in private practice and community mental health, helping diverse populations like couples, adolescents, children, and families to overcome pain and suffering associated with anxiety, depression, and self-defeating behavior patterns. Very important work. So most importantly, we appreciate her for joining us today. Yes, she's recently earned notoriety as an associate professor of practice at the University in Boston, Massachusetts. So woo woo! Thank you for joining us today.
Dr. E, welcome.
Wow. Thank you. Wow.
Yes. We are so happy that you joined us today because, again, this is maybe for some a hard conversation, but it is more than necessary to just talk about how technology has definitely had its benefits. It definitely has had its pros, but there's also some cons because it has changed our expectations in a lot of ways when it comes to like how we interact with our family, with our friends, and even our coworkers. We're expecting things a little bit different than maybe we used to prior to social media and things like that. So just share some thoughts on just that, and we'll dive a little deeper.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
And when you were talking, I was kind of standing off to the side listening. And one of the things I do with a lot of my clients, especially my adolescents, my teens, and children, is we do a little fasting from social media, and then they track their behaviors and what emotions they're feeling.
That's so
when
good.
They take that step back from social media, and then we kind of explore
what
some of those
like.
emotions, some of the behaviors that are associated with that, and how it impacts some of their mental health, such as anxiety and depression. So definitely a great conversation. And my motto is, whenever I'm working with clients, I always tell them, if you live for likes, you'll die for criticism.
That's right.
So,
that's so real.
It's just very important to remember that. And again, social media 100% has its positives and negatives. There's does. Like with any medicine, there are always side effects.
Man, let me tell you what, I can't tell you how many times watching TV or streaming something and I listen to these commercials and I literally, it's like become a game now where I'm listening to see how long the side effects list is going to be. It's like a game, like, all right, now let's see what this one's got. Oh, shoot, bleeding from the ears. Nope. So it really is true. Like side effects really are a huge thing. Yeah, because too much of anything is not good for us. I mean, I've been hearing that my whole life, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon, But I love what you're saying as far as doing that fasting exercise, because you really don't realize how maybe addicted you are to something until you pull away. And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm itching. Like, I got to get back to it. I got to scroll. I got to see who liked this video and things. And it's tough, though, because from what you're saying, you're working with, maybe some teens and adolescents on it. But, man, what about the people whose career hinges upon content and your brand hinges upon needing to get things out there? Like, what are some things that these people can do to reset? We'll call it a reset in a way that is healthy for them, but obviously they're going to have to get back to it. So just talk about maybe some things that can help with that reset.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk from my profession and my discipline, because that's my exposure.
Your expertise,
I want to say that NASW has found that self-care is so important that we have now added it to our code of ethics.
So just explain real briefly what the what is
NASW,
it?
National Association of Social
Yes.
Workers.
Okay.
So they've actually, there's a caveat to our code of ethics, and it's called self-care, and it was designed to prevent burnout and fatigue that comes along with working and helping others. So one of the things I would say for reset is definitely to understand your limits, understand your boundaries, and take that step back and do the self-care.
Right.
What happens, it's scientific, the reason why social media is so attractive, is so addicting, is it releases
dopamine, right?
Dopamine.
I read this. Yes.
So
okay.
That hormone, once those hormones are released, it's that feel-good hormone.
Right.
The same hormone that's released in sex, love, anything, gambling, they get the same exact feeling. And so that's what's happening. And so when you're swiping and when you're scrolling and you're getting these likes, this exact same feel-good chemical is being released.
Right.
The problem you have is when you step back, it's being released while you're there, but when you step back, everything still comes back flooding you.
Right, it floods you.
It's like you're connected, but you're alone.
Wow. And that explains so much, because that's exactly what it feels like when you're online and you see like certain responses to things and you're like, how did we get here? This was supposed to just be funny. This was just supposed to be lighthearted. But then, you know, a couple comments just end up being so dark and you're just like, huh? The math ain't math in here, y'all. How did we get here? But it makes sense what you're saying, because it floods people who are already in a struggle, and now you're just kind of bleeding online, essentially. And so what would you say were, I guess, maybe some practical tips that the average person can do in order to maybe pull away in a safe kind of self-care way?
Absolutely. What I would recommend always is know your limit. Okay. Know when being online has gotten you, when you get in that mesmerized place, that trance, you're like in a trance, it's time to take that step back. So for some people, you get mesmerized after 20 minutes. Some people after an hour. Some people after 2 hours. But I never recommend being online more than 2 hours.
So Dr. B, just like, you know, red flags that go up in certain relationships, and you know, when you see this, you know, boom, I think I need to take a step back. So so thinking about, you know, being online all the time and just always, you know,
scrolling and
for that next high, when do you think, what would be a red flag that you would say, maybe you need to kind of
reel it in a little bit.
Yeah. When you can't be present in the moment.
Oh, wow.
Whoop whoop. That just let us know something, y'all.
Wow.
So when you can't, you know, go out to eat with your people because you're on your phone and you're scrolling and you can't actually enjoy that moment, it might be time to reset and reel it in a little bit.
That's a good one, Dr. B. I like that. And that's where a lot of things are lost in, you know, in families and just friendships, you know, because we are so preoccupied with things that are really not that necessary. We don't have to really take care of it at that moment. But it says that we get to the point that we get driven and we lose track of the moment. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you lose sight of what's important.
Exactly. You focus on capturing the moment for social media, for likes, for others to see. It becomes so inauthentic.
Yeah.
And then you have others looking at your life, not knowing that you're putting this inauthentic content out there.
Right.
They're looking at your content as, wow, my life is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't have
that
this
comparison starts creeping in.
I'm not with my family like that. Look at this family. Look at it's all photo ops.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And then comparison comes in, and that quote that says comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah. You know, and it's true, because you do see the highlight reels, quote unquote, of people's lives, and now you're putting your life next to that life to compare and be like, oh, I don't travel and do that. Oh, I'd love to do this. My family's not that close. My family's not that funny. And it becomes this toxic thing.
And you start going after things that are not realistic in a sense, you know, trying to bring about a realization of something that's not even.
It's not real.
It's not real. Yeah. But I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's one of those things. It's another saying that we would always say in church: if you can't say amen, say ouch. But it's true though, because these are the kinds of things that I think we've all been affected by at some point or another, and you just have to have the wherewithal to say, okay, this is a red flag. It's time to reel it in. I need some self-care time to get back to who I truly am, so that I'm not being this fake online person.
And then if you have a family and you are not really bringing the unification in the family that should be there, then the families, what happens to the family? Absolutely.
Yeah.
What happens to the family?
Yeah, the priorities just end up getting, totally out of order. And so now maybe the priority is to do more content because your family has a YouTube channel, but you're not actually paying attention to the things that your kids are going through because they're still preteens, struggling through hormone changes and everything else. Like lots of things get lost in translation now. Yeah. So that's a very, very important thing to remember too, just in regards to family.
They have to really make sure that the family, the nucleus of the family is there.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, and we see a lot of the side effects, and we talk about the negative aspect, but there are some great positive parts of social media.
Absolutely. And that was actually going to be my very next question, is I wanted to talk about just some of the, I guess, the communication styles that we're developing. What are even some of the positives in that? Because there is a freedom and an openness that people can find by having social media as a platform, because they can voice themselves in maybe a way that is empowering even. So yeah, just talk about some of those positives as well.
Absolutely. I think social media has let us know that the entire world is a small town.
Yes, very much so.
So that's a positive.
But let me tell you what, I ain't paying no more taxes. Okay, enough is enough.
I hear you on that. Yeah, right. But it's a small town. I mean, you get, as you said, you get your voice heard. There are 4 billion social media users. Right.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, a lot of content, a lot of getting your voice heard, a lot of connectiveness.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You get to connect and you build a community. Online, you build that community, that sense of family. We just have to remember, are we building it on an authentic platform, or are we building an inauthentic platform?
Right.
And then you want to make sure these relationships, they become superficial.
Yes.
Right? I'm thinking what's a facade and what is really for
Absolutely.
Real. Right. Yeah. Because it stands to reason that if you're building certain things online in that positive light, you're building maybe a community and a family, some of that should start to translate into the real world. It shouldn't just all live online, because at what point are you any different from someone who's catfishing? Like, what would be the difference if it doesn't translate into real life? We can't just all be in the metaverse. We're not there yet,
No, we're getting there, though. We're real close.
We're inching. We're a teach away.
Are we on the cusp? Are we on the cusp?
I guess so.
No,
Facebook done changed their name and everything to make sure they corner that market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, I like the fact that social media does have a positive influence, because sometimes people reach out if they need prayer or they're going through something, and you can respond to them in a way that would encourage them, or somebody near might be able to get to them and really help them through the difficult times.
Yeah, because they were able to use social media as an outlet to express a moment of pain or a life struggle that they're in. I mean, it's just one of those things that can truly be helpful for people if used properly. Yeah, so that's always a blessing.
And to sharing each other's joys, too.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
There's some good things we just need to know, as we said, and I like
know our limits.
Know our limits, as you said. That's something that I think that we really want to drive home, that people will really realize, that know your limits and know when you're crossing over into, a place where, like, to no return, so to speak,
Absolutely.
So we want to keep that in mind. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do a lot of couples work, and one of the things come up a lot in couples treatment is that one of the partners would prefer to be online, and let's say we're spending quality time, or we're exchanging an intimate moment, and that partner is looking at their stats during that time, and that is one of
it causes a disconnect.
It's a disconnect, and that is one of the biggest complaints in treatment is one of the partners
I can see
have
that.
a very difficult time
Yeah.
recognizing that
Being
we're
present.
in this moment doing this, and you're choosing to see what notification
Checking
you
the
just received.
insights.
Now,
Okay, hold on, pause, wait a minute, because it's getting juicy, y'all. It's getting real juicy. We about to spill some more tea. So after the break, we're going to continue this topic. We're going to continue this discussion, because obviously, as y'all you can see and hear, that it's getting deep, and it's going to get even better, because we're doing something that's important, and that's revealing to you guys the things that are really happening in real life, and how it can help you, how it can help your children, how it can help your family, your loved ones. But it's about empowering you to do better and be better, right? So we'll be right back after these messages. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Don't go anywhere, y'all. We'll be right back. Well, y'all, welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. For those streaming live, free on the TuneIn Radio app and on Apple Music, we appreciate you. We are back with this episode of The Digital Leap. I'm your host, CookieTruth, and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
And we are here just talking about social media, the interactions, the pros and the cons, the healthy and unhealthy, the red flags, the green flags, everything in between. So where we left off, just before the commercial break, we were just about to spill some real tea, y'all. We were talking about how one of the main things that comes up in couples therapy is the need for attention, for lack of a better expression, when it comes down to, one person in the couple wanting to be online when the other person is looking for quality time, and how that can really, really interrupt some things as far as intimacy, as far as understanding, as far as expectations, all of that good stuff. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, because something tells me that this is not an isolated event. Something tells me that this is happening way more than we care to admit. So we got to dive into this thing a little bit.
And you know what? You got to be present when you're supposed to be present.
Gots to be more careful.
'Cause I'm thinking, when you're in school and the teacher calls the roll and you hear your name and you have to say present, you got to speak up and be there when you're supposed to be there, so that you can acknowledge the fact that, hey, listen, I hear you.
Exactly.
I'm ready to go with you, so yes.
Yeah, so Dr. V, shed a little bit more light, because I know you were saying that that's like one of the main things that comes up if it's one of those type of, coupledom type conversations that you're having. So what are some of the things that, come up as far as those self-care type of tips that can help people on a practical level? What are some of those things as well, tools that you give them?
For couples?
Yeah,
Are you speaking? Yeah, absolutely. So we work together, and we allow the couple, of course, to decide what is going to be effective, or what
so that they can, I guess, set their own boundaries and expectations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our role as the therapist, as the clinician, is not to advise and tell and direct, but to kind of explore, talk to those clients or those couples to see what they feel will work. Okay?
Right.
What are you willing to do? Right?
To get them, I'm assuming, to like
commit to it.
to get them critically thinking about what's going to best suit them at that moment, because you can't push people to be something they're not ready for.
Right, and it's a decision that they make, and they have to be responsible for that decision, and not somebody else saying, well,
just forcing it on them.
So that's good.
And practicing mindfulness and practicing being present in the moment is not about how long you can be present, but it's about practicing being present.
Right.
So
almost down to the repetition of doing it.
The exercise may be as simple as, okay, tomorrow when you're intimate and you're having quality time, or you intentionally decide this is going to be the quality time.
Yeah.
If you've been having quality time for 5 minutes and then you decide to go to social media or look at your notifications. So tomorrow, I want you to be very intentional. And instead of 5 minutes of quality time and then social media, you do 7 minutes of quality time and then social media, come back.
Right.
So the practice of the intent around that is if you practice being present, it's not saying that you're never going to drift, your mind is not going to kind of float away, but you're practicing coming back.
Right.
The concept is eventually you'll come back quicker and quicker and quicker.
Because it's adding repetition, it's adding some intentionality to what you're doing, because I would hope that you're doing this work to be better, to get better.
Absolutely.
I would hope.
And to enhance, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to, if you're not advancing and enhancing, you know, you're losing.
Then what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? You're losing at some point in time.
Yeah, but I love that though, just that is something that you're prepared to work with people on, that there are tools in place, because I know part of the issue too is that there's like this hopelessness that people have, or there's this loneliness that people have, feeling like, oh, well, nobody will understand, nobody gets it. I don't, like, you hear it a lot. People don't want therapy because they don't feel like it will help them at all. And they don't even always know the tools and the resources that would be made available to them had they just, you know, humbled themselves maybe, or just not been afraid to go ahead and give therapy a try, because there really are tools in place that can really help people work through those difficulties.
But you know what, Dr. V, so many times we talk about when people say they have a headache, they'll take something for their head, or if their stomach ache, they'll take something, or if they feel that something is going on, they'll go to the doctor who specializes in that. But when it comes to our mental state, sometimes we neglect that so much that we don't take advantage of the system, or, for lack of a better term, the opportunity that God has placed somebody with that mindset in order to help you work through the issues that come up, because we're going to have issues.
Yeah, you know? And there's going to be help available, but you have to be open to it.
Yeah, and realize that's a part of your
process
and your health.
Journey.
You know, it's not always the brain, it's not always the heart, it's not always your blood, you know, but your brain, you know, all of that is a part of it. And I think
mental health is a journey. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers and it just magically disappear. You can't pray everything away. There's going to be work involved. Faith without works is dead.
Absolutely.
So I think that you offer a beautiful scenario here to help us to understand that, you know, it doesn't have to be difficult. It's just going to have to be a decision made in order to, you know, bring about some change, to have a healthy relationship, and to have tools, you know, and that's the thing.
We we 100% understand the difficulty and the uncertainty of talking to someone. You have to go to someone and be very vulnerable.
Right.
We understand in our industry that that's a very difficult thing.
Right. Vulnerability.
It's very difficult to throw yourself out there to a stranger and not sure how that stranger is going to manage your challenge.
And the first person that you go to may not be a good fit. They may not be good at what they do.
Or your experience has been when you talk to someone and you've been vulnerable.
It wasn't received.
Certain things happen. So we learn from experience, and what we experience teaches us how to behave. So if you experience being vulnerable and that vulnerability resulted in something that left you depleted, it's very understandable that you would not want to sit in front of a stranger and just disclose
personal details, etc.
Yes.
But you know, and this is my point. If we have a heart problem, we go to one doctor, and if we don't get the satisfaction, we find another, and we keep searching until we feel the satisfaction. And I think this is the point that I think that we're making here, that the mental issue is the same thing. Don't feel if you failed in one segment of it that you just give up on it. Just keep
like if you have a bad experience, you can't let that stop you from getting the help that you really need. And that can be scary, it can be difficult, but it is worth it to continue the try.
It's like this saying go, just bite the bullet, you know.
You have to continue to try, because it's ultimately about bettering yourself. It's ultimately about like making sure you're complete and whole in your journey. And it is difficult and it's painful and it's sometimes expensive, but ultimately it is worth it. Yeah.
And, you know, and just having Dr. V here and just talking with her and knowing and hearing her compassion and knowing, you know, it's a no judgment zone, you know.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what you want to know, that there are people such as herself that you can go to and you can sit and express yourself, and you don't have to feel that you're being judged or, you know, you're going to be looked at in a certain way and all this kind of stuff. And you may have to search to find someone such as she.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're out there.
They exist. And they will welcome you with open arms.
Yes, yeah, Dr. V is not alone. She trains and she, you know, she knows. So anyone who is listening and want to, you know, get recommendations.
Pursue the help, for sure.
Finding out, you know, there's, you know, we can provide as much information.
Yeah, there's plenty of resources out there that are available, whether it be through nonprofit organizations or otherwise, that provide free therapy or at least low cost options that are available to you. So don't let those kind of things stop or hinder you or run you off, because when you need help, you should be able to get the help that you need. And you don't want to ever just give up because of a bad experience or because of just some kind of fear, even in the back of your own mind.
Someone doesn't take their position serious enough, and leave you with a bad taste in your mouth, and that, you know,
you don't want to let that stop you.
No, not at all, because, you know, life is precious, and life is can be a great, you know, you can have great joy in life if you just get the right tools to work with. And you can be on your way to a better quality life by getting the help that you need. So Dr. V, absolutely, as we kind of wrap things up today, just kind of share what your thoughts are to encourage people that maybe are apprehensive about pursuing help or pursuing therapy, or just taking some practical steps, you know, that can help them on that journey.
Yeah. For their mental health?
Yeah,
absolutely. The first thing you do have to recognize that there are some pain and suffering that you're experiencing, that you
have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, you want to acknowledge that, and you no longer want to live like that.
Right. And you want change.
You want to change. One of the things that's very important to remember is it's not the absence of problems, it's not the absence of challenges that make you a great person.
That's right.
It's managing those challenges.
That's right.
So if
I love
you're
that.
seeking to get rid of, or I no longer want to feel anxious, I no longer want anxiety, I no longer want to feel depressed, I no longer want depression, that's not what is going to be offered.
Because that's not
realistic.
realistic.
A miracle pill. That's unrealistic. But if you're seeking ways to manage it and what we call as distress tolerance, then that's when you want to say, okay, I need someone to help me build the skill capacity to manage these feelings.
Because it sounds like what you're saying is like you're going to get out of therapy the tools that are going to make you a better person for yourself. It's not really for other people at this point. It's about, okay, I have some things that I've acknowledged have gone a certain way, and I need help working through those things so that I can maybe not have to have anxiety controlling me, but I have now the tools and resources to control the situation that maybe causes me to have anxiety. So that's what it sounds like. It's like being prepared. It sounds like getting some help in that way that gives you those tools.
And to just say that again, Dr. B, because that's very
it's really
profound.
powerful.
Yeah, it's very, and I want people to really focus in on that. It's not the absence of.
No, it's not the absence of challenges, not the absence of pain and suffering that makes your life great.
Right.
It's managing your challenges.
Right.
It's managing your pain and suffering.
Right.
That makes life.
Because
worth
we're
living.
all going to go through things. We're all going to experience struggle.
Yeah,
in this life, there will be trouble.
Absolutely. Some rain will fall.
Yeah. So learning how to manage those things is what makes you strong. It is what makes you healthy.
We're not going to ask you to pay for that now. We're going to give you that free.
Yes.
That's free.
Yes. Okay. No cost for the admission. Okay. But no, I love that though, because to me, that's such an empowering thing to know that the things that may haunt you or the things that may give you grief and you may struggle, they don't have to continue to rule over you. They don't have to continue to run your life. That you can be empowered and strengthened in a way that helps you take control of your life and of those feelings. So anxiety and depression don't have to be the things that are running you ragged and causing you to maybe self-sabotage opportunities that come in your life, or have you relying so much on the phantom world you've created on social media because of the attention you get, and you're high on the dopamine of that. But when you're left alone in your home or in your room or apartment, you don't have anything.
Yes, therapy is designed to put you back in the driver's seat.
Yes.
Versus your challenge in the driver's seat. Because often we're the challenge and the pain and suffering is really driving us. And so therapy is designed to put you back in the driver's seat, recognizing in the back seat, in the buckle is depression, recognizing in the back seat, in the buckle is anxiety, and it's okay that they're there.
Just strap them suckers in.
Strap them in and say, come on, this is how we're going to make our moves with you here.
Right. Yeah, you're not the boss of me. I'm the boss of you. That's what that sounds like to me. But that's so important, because maybe some people maybe listening have not heard that before. They've not been empowered to believe that for themselves, because unfortunately, maybe they were verbally just assaulted and abused, and they've never been empowered to believe that they could take that power back. So that is just so encouraging to hear, even on their behalf, because it's like, no, this is possible. You just need the proper tools. You just need the proper tools, guys.
And the proper clinician.
Yes, that too.
Yes.
Okay. Ding, ding, ding. Ring that bell. Okay. Hook, line, sinker on that one, because that really is important. There have been plenty of stories of people who've had bad experiences because maybe that person who was their clinician was not having a good day, or just bad at what they do. Who's to say, right? But it does
not have been in that profession.
Exactly. And it does happen. So it's not to say that the first person you meet is going to click with you, but don't give up. You can do it. You can strap anxiety and depression and all that in the back seat, and you can take that driver's seat and do what you got to do.
And do well.
And be whole and be healthy.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. V.
Thank you to Dr. V for empowering us and inspiring us to do the work, to get the help, to get the clinician that we may need, to get the tools and the resources that we may need, because this is important.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be right back in just a moment. You're tuned in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll be right back, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Digital Leap. This episode has been brought to you by Gods for You, a nonprofit organization that sponsors teachers throughout the United States of America, helping them buy supplies for their classrooms. As many of you know, many teachers take money out of their own pockets in order to supply goods and supplies for their students. Everything from pens to notebooks to stickers and everything in between. So your donations go towards helping those teachers meet those needs, as well as international efforts supporting families in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya to be exact, and helping send clothing and goods to people and families in that nation. So all of your donations go to those amazing efforts, and for more information, you can visit godsforyou.us. That's godsforyou.us to get more information or to contact them for more details, as well as to leave a donation. So thank you, Gods for You, for sponsoring today's episode. And special thank you to Dr. V, Dr. Verl Williams. We appreciate you for sharing your expertise. And a few takeaways from today's episode is to always try your best to stay connected with what's in front of you, whether that's your family and friends. Try not to exceed a 2-hour mark on social media in one sitting in order to allow your mind and your body to reset. And try to practice those fasting tools that Dr. V gave us in order to take some time away and to reset. We hope today's episode has blessed you, and we look forward to doing it again next week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll see you next time.